Okay, that brings us to our next clip for Friday night stream reaction. Today we'll be looking at a couple of Nick Fuentes videos. The first one would be Iran peace deal collapse in foreign policy. That's America First, episode 1706. U.S. bombs Iran, peace deal collapses. Then the next clip we'll be looking and reacting to will be Trump coin scam. Direct America First, episode 1708. Trump coin scam. And there's the link there. And we have Birthright Citizenship episode, America First, episode 1707, Birthright Citizenship upheld. Okay, so in case you don't know who this guy is, Nick Fuentes, he has runs a very long form nightly streams. So like, for example, you see this stream almost 5 hours. I don't know who has more. Hassan Piker, I think he does more hours. And he does it on platforms like Rumble and Cozy TV. He mixes news reaction, cultural commentary. He likes trolling, super chat driven rants, and nationalist framing. So his recent episodes are here. We just covered those. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is, before I get into those, is preempt any criticisms about this guy and address them and maybe agree or not agree on principle. Okay, I could agree with something on principle. I could disagree with something on principle. As you know, my worldview is Ancap, anarcho-capitalist, objectivist, and agorist lens. That's what we'll be looking at. So the first criticism would be he is an edgy, not Nutsi LARP. Just to let you know, before I show these clips, this is fair use. Okay, this is fair use. This is coming from Rumble. I have 3 Rumble clips, and this is under the fair use clause. Okay, just let you know. Preempt that just in case. Okay, YouTube algorithm. Okay, this is fair use. I'm gonna be just looking at these clips. Okay, so anyway, so the first criticism is he is an edgy Nutsi LARP. Okay, so he kind of has this anti-usury, anti-lobby, and he points at anti-cronyism. Okay, but he rejects racial mysticism. He judges individuals by character, actions, objectivist. Many critics are state-aligned or tribal themselves. So yeah, they do a lot of gaslighting, in other words. And my cord was a little stuck under the desk. Okay. Here's another criticism they have of him: hate speech incitement. Okay, well, it's voluntary audience, right? They come in, they have their choice. They come and go, like here, you know. And you get a couple of people, and a couple of thousand, and a couple of thousand leave, and 500. You know, it's just all voluntary. There's no force there. The stream, it's mainstream media selective outrage. So whenever they say this, it's just legacy media selecting its outrage and just taking quotes out of context, you know, so they give it hate speech incitement. So that's easy for them to say. It's very easy to say that without actually addressing the issue, whether you agree with it on principle. And they also ignore, while doing this, talking about hate speech incitement towards Nick Fuentes, they also ignore left extremism. We know about Charlie Kirk and the Trump assassinations and everything in between there. So they ignore a lot of left extremism. But as an agorist, I defend the speech as information market. Okay? All right. So let's address the next criticism. Irrelevant fringe. They think Nick Fuentes is just fringe and irrelevant. Well, he's been around for a long time. He gets millions of views, though. I mean, okay. All right. Sure, you get millions of views. But that doesn't really mean anything just because you're popular. They could be tuning in just to troll him. But he does have an influence on discourse, prove cultural leverage. Definitely, he does have some strengths. True power is economic independence, not clips. Okay, remember that. So now we got hypercritical monetization. Super chats are voluntary again. It's up to, I can donate $1 or $100. But if you contrast this with this voluntary super chats with tax-funded think tanks, think like Vaush and Hassan Piker. Those are probably tax-funded. But see, all content creators hustle. They all do this. Kino Casino, right? Jeremy at the quarter powdering. But the transparency beats pretense. This is why people like Jeremy at the quartering or Styx Hexenhammer 666 or Vaush, these people get felted on Kino Casino because they lack transparency. If you want to go follow the drama between Kino Casino and they even have one with Ethan Ralph too. So yeah, transparency is important. It beats the pretense. So we have a left neocon attacks here, often ad hominem or context stripped, of course. They're cohesion concerns, but they solve via markets, not bigger state, okay? Not a bigger state. You already have a big state. Why do you want bigger state? Okay, internal right here. Compromisers prioritize power over principle. So my lens here calls out without purity spiraling into irrelevance. So that's I wanted to preempt some criticisms there. So if you agree or disagree, let me know in the chat below while we're doing this. So he's going to be talking about this Iran peace deal collapse. So we have foreign policy interventionism. So I'm going to be addressing those as we watch. I'm just looking here ahead in my notes. Okay, I already did that. Okay, so, all right. Well, it's Friday, and hopefully you guys are here for the weekly live stream. So it'd be roast reaction. But, I like to suffer. I like Dark Side Phil. I don't get paid for suffering. But I just hate myself enough to watch 4 hours plus of nightly streams. So, you guys don't have to do it. So, you can't really see behind me or anything. I have some Gunpla models that I've built behind me. So, someday I'll probably like to do this where I can have my background. Okay, so let's get to the first one. Okay, so he's going to be talking about the Iran thing. So that's at the recommended clip, 20 to 50 minute. I hope that's right, because last time I did this, it went on for a long time. He had about a 2-hour lead-in. He's got more introduction. Was it 20 minutes? No. Wow, see, look how long that is. America First. Wow, again, an hour, 2 hours. When does it start? As soon as it starts, it'll go into the 20-minute mark from that starting point. Wow, hour and a half. He's going 2 hours with this header. Okay, here he is. So when does that start? That starts around here. So 20 minutes from there would be 2 hours and 20 minutes. America First. Okay, let's start there. All right, let's.
The way that I said it is that this was a formalization of the tentative ceasefire that we already had. There was a ceasefire, you may remember from.
Yeah, I know. He was right the last time he did this. He talked about how the pendulum just kept swinging back and forth between this deal here. So we're looking at 20, so about 30 minutes. I don't know if I'll watch all 30 minutes of that. But let's watch, and then we'll react.
And although it had been violated, it did allow some shipping through the strait, and for the most part, there was a cessation of hostilities between the U.S. and Iran. And after months and months of negotiations, finally they produced this document, which was supposed to advance the diplomacy and negotiations to another stage. But literally within the week, it has now completely fallen apart.
I've seen it as this lines with my principle. It's like we shouldn't be in this war anyway. So he's just ripping here on the Iran peace collapse. Right. I agree. Spot on. Great. What is he going to do next?
And the big development from this weekend is that the ceasefire has effectively been broken. Iran is shooting at commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz, and now the volume of shipping has been drastically reduced through the strait. So Iran has violated its part. The Strait of Hormuz is now effectively closed. Firing on ships again. The volume is about a fifth of what it was at its peak a week ago.
Hey, but that's our tax. That's the tax dollars. That's where it's going to. Don't forget that. That's how they're spending our money.
And in response to this, the United States has resumed its attacks on Iran's southern coast and the positions from which Iran is launching these drones and missiles at the shipping. So there's no longer an open strait, and there's no longer a ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. Additionally, Israel has been launching attacks in Lebanon basically without ceasing from the very beginning. So even though last week there was supposed to be a big negotiation between Lebanon and Israel, mediated by the United States to end the conflict there, it is still raging on even to this day.
Hey, this is just classic state schizophrenia. What a great solution. Yeah, this is just what a collapse. What just terrible. So he's right about this. He's spot on about this. This is good roasting. This is good felting of Trump and this lousy foreign policy.
So we will talk about the fate of the MOU as it stands right now. It looks like not only will it not advance to that second phase of nuclear negotiations, that doesn't even seem to be in the cards, but the existing issues that the MOU is supposed to address, it seems there is no more agreement on any of those, if there ever was.
When was this recorded here? June 29th. So this is in the last almost week and a half or so. All right. What do the comments say? Show starts at 2:16. Failing to negotiate new anti-immigrant policy, fresh fit. Okay. I want to get to the other parts too. So yeah, this is typical classic state schizophrenia and incompetence. Yeah. Rightly to call it out. That's an easy call. That's an easy call. Just more state failures. But yet people their people are so insane that they still want to spend on they still want to depend on the state to solve problems. I mean, when have they ever really solved problems? I mean, aren't we still in a housing crisis too since 2008? I thought we never got out of that. Yeah. So you still want to depend on the state to solve your problems, all of them. I mean, just speaking of insane, that would be the voters, because they keep voting for the same policies with different names attached to them and expecting a different outcome, and a different outcomes never come. And a lot of these voters are irrational. They're so schizophrenic. They're so just low IQ monkeys that they look at what's happening in the world. They just can't see it. They can't see the policy failures, like mass migration. That's another failure. Abject failure. Multiculturalism, a failure. Yeah, so state intervention should not even be on the card, shouldn't be on the table. This is just proof that do not depend on the state for even protecting your own rights either. We don't want to get into that, but philosophically, this is just, he's spot on about this. What are you getting to the other stuff? Well, what is the selling of the F-35s? Anyway.
So we're going to get into that. We'll talk through it, and we'll see where that's going to go. We're also going to talk tonight about the Supreme Court, which delivered two major rulings last week.
I have to say, though, his presentation is way better than Hassan Piker's. He just has a better presentation. He has a nicer background, a good atmosphere, better quality camera, besides the suit. Stop saying, And the background is nice. It got some, like, what are those? Not palm trees. Ferns. And yeah, overall, just a nice, cozy presentation. Yeah, I'd rather watch this for an hour than just 5 minutes of Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker's awful. He's one of the worst, and he just has his presentation is just this is just him sitting in front of the camera in the bedroom with some just crap on his shelf. And he's good doing the suit thing. But anyway, I don't want to get off on that. I've already done enough on a Piker. Screw that guy. I'm not going to waste another minute watching his crap and roasting it. This is more worth it.
Which support the administration's discretion in deporting and preventing foreign nationals from entering the United States. There was one ruling on the Temporary Protected Status Program, and this ruling will allow the Trump administration to terminate TPS for Syrians and Haitians, of which there are 270,000 of them living in the country under this program. And so now the administration, if it so chose, will be able to physically remove them from the country. And in a secondary ruling, it allows the administration to prevent asylum seekers from entering the United States. We are now allowed, by our own government, to turn away potential asylum seekers before they set foot inside the United States. If they're on the Mexican side of the border seeking asylum.
Now, that's if that there actually are asylum seekers. If they really are coming from like North Korea or any communist socialist shithole, a totalitarian or not, a totalitarian government. Yeah, I mean, sure, if they really are asylum seekers. But if they're just saying they are, how do you know that anyway? Well, because I remember that the boat people back in the 70s, 80s, the Vietnamese and the Southeast Asians, they were escaping the Khmer Rouge. They were escaping the communist terrible things that were going on. They were asylum seekers. Sure, okay, I can accept those, but as long as we have the consent of people, that's the thing. Is that's what's just a mess about this whole immigration thing. I'll get into that later, but yeah, let's just keep going.
We actually don't have to take them. We don't have to process their claim. However, if they cross over into America, if they set foot on the soil, they cross the threshold, we still got to process their asylum claim. So we'll talk about it. Still, two pretty significant victories on immigration. However, the big decision is expected tomorrow.
I don't know, be a victory. I mean, it's still use of force, some sort of government force to do the borders. So how do you deal with that?
And that is on birthright citizenship. And although there's been no leak about that decision, it's not looking good. People are pointing out that when the Roe versus Wade decision came down, the Capitol Police had installed barricades outside the Supreme Court because they anticipated riots and protests. Tomorrow, there's a decision that could potentially cause millions of people to be deported at the sole discretion of...
What was the decision on that birthright? They decided against it? Oh, that's right. Yeah. They decided against that. Okay. Right. Trump judges. Birthright citizenship upheld by Trump judges. All right.
President Trump, and yet there's no barricades, no fencing. Surely, if the Supreme Court made a decision that millions are subject to deportation, there would be protests, there would be riots, and there would be barricades. So some people are pointing this out, saying this is an indication that the decision is not going to go our way.
And it didn't either. Because this was recorded June 29th.
But we'll most likely talk about that tomorrow or later in the week. Tonight we're just going to talk about the TPS and asylum decisions. But it's going to be a pretty good show. Before we get into the news, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. Check out our...
Okay, yeah, more proselytizing. That's fine. Yeah, we're going to get into the Trump coin scam pretty soon when he reacts to that. But yeah, this is the first part. Yeah, this Iran peace deal, like he said last time when I reacted to his video here. Yeah, it's just like a pendulum, just keeps swinging back and forth. It's a mess. The immigration thing's a mess too. What do you do with these people? You know what I mean? Because it's like you're going to spend a bunch of money to give them free housing, insurance. Well, it's not free. Everybody knows it's not free. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, okay, free. You're going to give them all this stuff. That costs a bunch of money. Either either the taxpayers are gonna pay that, even more probably so, or this is gonna be fake money, fiat currency. Just print a bunch of that and spend it. Yeah, that's gonna cause its own problems. Or you can try to deport the illegals by instead of giving them free gifts. That's gonna cost money to do that too. So what do you do? Yeah, my solution was to abolish the welfare state, but that's not his solution. His solution wants to enforce the borders. I don't, because I believe the non-aggression principle, and we shouldn't have any kind of force use from the government. So probably one of the best solutions, one of them would be abolish the welfare state. That way you can incentivize better quality people to come rather than just, hey, let's go to America and free stuff at the expense of others. All right, what does he say after you're proselytizing?
Merch store at Fuentes.store. And if you would like to support the show, subscribe at AmericaFirst.plus. $15 a month, you get access to the archive. $100 a month, you get access to my exclusive group chat on Telegram, where I'm hanging out with everybody. I was in voice chat this weekend for
He hasn't shown, and I've seen these streams, just a little praise here for that he hasn't shown any videos or articles on the screen while he's talking. It's just him talking like a talk show. Whereas Hassan Piker, hate to pick on him, but I actually like to pick on him. He's looking at a screen. He's reading a script, and he can't even finish a sentence or a thought while looking at the script. Kino Casino, they do the opposite. They show screenshots of ex posts and videos, but this guy hasn't done that. So kudos to him. I mean, it's a good presentation.
Hours. I popped in the group chat while I was in Florida and was just hanging out. People were asking me questions.
Okay.
We were talking all
Let's
retarded, no good characters. Some of them were blackout drunk, and they were all ugly. So, and not
okay.
try to put a stop to that. I'm so sick of the fucking Muslim stuff. I can't even
Whoa, hey.
tell you. Let me just say something real quick. The Muslims have completely
Uh-oh. Is the stream going to get nuked when he's talking about this?
overstayed their welcome. There was a time a couple of years ago when we
But say this is the status, right? A solution. He wants the state to enforce this. Either we're going to spend a bunch of money to deport them, because you got to spend a bunch of money to capture them, and then you got to find them, capture them, you spend a bunch of money to deport them. Yeah, and then at the same time you're spending money on a bunch of war. So how much money you have? And the government never creates wealth; it just prints money. And the government has never created any solution to these problems. It's created what they think is solutions, but those solutions that exacerbate the problems. So he thinks that the state is going to solve this by deportation. Well, that costs a lot of money. And so if you're against the war, if you're talking about the state collapse and the state schizophrenia with the Iran deal going there, yeah, you should be consistent and say, I'm against the war, spending our money, and I'm also against the deportation and spending money. So if you're consistent, I'm just saying, if you're consistent, you would say you reject one. If you reject one, you can reject the other.
we and the Muslims were kind of pointing in the same direction because we were both opposed to what Israel was doing in Gaza for different reasons. There was a time.
This is kind of, I mean, it's for different reasons, he said, but isn't that why? I mean, is it like the leftists, the fanatics, and ideologues? Why are they against it? Because they think Israel is represents Western civilization, colonialization, so they're going to be anti-West by opposing Israel. But what's his reason?
1 year ago, 2 years ago, when the Muslims and the white nationalists were kind of coming together because we both opposed Israel. But they have totally overplayed their hand, totally overstayed their welcome. And so there was a time when they were...
So in this regard, what he's saying here, is James Lindsay correct that this is like woke right, kind of what he's saying here, that they both aligned with the Muslim nationalists because they oppose what Israel was doing? I know it's not for the same reasons, or is it? Let me know in the chat.
For criticizing Israel with us, now all they do is push their bullshit religion and defend grooming gangs. Doing apologetics for grooming gangs and saying if you have a problem with grooming gangs, if you have a problem with these towelheads in your country, well, you're a Zionist. If you don't want your country to be invaded by violent Muslims raping everybody, oh, well, you're a Zionist. That's what Israel wants you to believe.
Well, that is a good point. They just call you a Zionist or anti-Semite just to call you a name because you're questioning what Israel's doing. So that is a good point. Because people that's a knee-jerk reaction. They'll just say, "Oh, you're Zionist or you're anti-Semitic or something because you oppose what Israel's doing." Yeah, that's just easy ad hominem attack. Nothing new there.
And it's like, you know what? Forget it with these people. I don't think so.
Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Oh, there it goes. I lost my... I'm just checking my stream. What? Oh, no. Did I lose it for a second? I guess YouTube didn't like his comments there. Hey, it's fair use, man. I'm just using this to react to. Don't worry about it.
Now they're complaining about that movie. There's this movie that came out with Army Hammer Cannibal W. There's this movie that comes...
Okay, this is just talking about the movie. I don't care about this. This is going on. Let me skip ahead here so I can get to the... I want to get to the lobby game. Let's see.
Mediators to get the U.S. to uphold its commitments in the ceasefire. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, two of
Okay.
President Trump's
He's back talking about the ceasefire and the pendulum swinging again back and forth with that war. So let's see what else he says.
advisors were flying to the Qatari capital Doha for the talks. According to Carolyn Levitt, Mr. Kushner and Mr. Witkoff have helped lead negotiations with Iran in the past. 4 straight days of hostilities that began on Thursday have imperiled the tenuous 2-week-old ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. Despite the truce, the countries have continued to stage attacks in the Strait of Hormuz, a vital conduit for global oil and gas shipments that Iran effectively blockaded during the conflict. The exchange of strikes began when Iran hit a cargo ship in the strait and another vessel on Saturday, prompting retaliatory American strikes. The Iranian military later said it had targeted a U.S. naval base in Bahrain and a Kuwaiti air base with drones and missiles in response to the American attacks. On
Okay, so he's just reading the article.
Sunday, a U.S. official said that the two countries had agreed to halt the attacks on the strait and allow vessels to move through freely. So
what's his
once
take?
again, I know it sounds like I'm repeating myself, and I am. It's true. But we are going around and around in circles every week, every month, every day, it seems, in the...
You know what I mean? The last time I did a reaction, and this is what he said last time, was the pendulum going back and forth. Yeah, this is schizophrenic behavior.
conflict. There is no agreement on any one of these issues, like we talked about before. Ever since we killed Iran's supreme leader and we waged this regime change war against Iran, what they have done is close the Strait of Hormuz. Why are they doing this to us? What is the point of closing the strait? It is to deter any second or third or fourth attempt at regime change against their country. To put it very...
Yeah, this is something, it doesn't really, it's not going to make any difference who you're going to get rid of. It's not going to really change the regime, no matter how many leaders you take out. They think magically that if you just take out one leader, poof, the regime's over, it's done, enjoy your freedom. Now America's going to pull out, and you're on your own now. Yeah, that's not a good strategy, because that can backfire like it did in Afghanistan.
Very simply...
I mean, you make fun of Biden for his disaster pullout there. So what's going to happen here? I mean, how many different leaders are you going to take out and destroy? before you think you got a regime change. You're just going to just declare regime change? Oh, it's over. Yay. Then now you guys, you got freedom now. Go open McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, it's not so easy than that. That can backfire. The old regime can just come back. So again, I agree with him here. It's spot on and aligns with my principles. And yeah, but as far as like the immigration thing, I don't agree with him.
That is what has happened. The U.S. crossed this red line of actually attempting regime change. We assassinated their head of state.
That didn't solve anything because you assassinated the head of state. That's not going to solve anything. You assassinate a head of state, oh, they just replace it with another one. And the regime's is not going to go away. They can just easily come back.
We assassinated half of their civilian and military leadership, and we went for it all. We tried to topple their government, destroy the regime, and foment a revolution.
Yeah, okay, we're going to foment the revolution. Okay, you guys are on your own. Do your revolution. We're going to leave now. Oh, that's disaster. You want to do that. They should have never got involved in this thing in the first place, but
the
too late.
Iranian regime survived.
Yeah.
And that is the most important fact.
And this is something also Michael Malice points out is true. So this is true. This is spot on. I agree here. It didn't change anything.
In the conflict, we went for the king, we missed, and now what Iran is doing is they are ensuring that never again will we attempt another regime change. Because we could. We took a crack at it, we failed, and surely what the United States will do next, if we are allowed to leave the conflict, if there is a truce, a short-term ceasefire, if there is a peace deal, what the United States will surely do next is we will simply rearm, we're going to re-equip ourselves, catch our breath, and we're going to come back again. We're going to come back in 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half. It is all but inevitable that after our first failed attempt at regime change, we're going to do it again in the future.
Well, it's not really inevitable because they can just stop doing this. They can just end it now.
And why are we necessarily going to do this? Because by trying regime change, we have now permanently, most likely, foreclosed the possibility of diplomacy and normalization with this regime that we tried to kill. And so if we can't negotiate, if there's no diplomacy, then what is the Iranian regime liable to do? They're going to rebuild their nuclear program, rebuild their missile program, rebuild their military. They will be more defiant, more belligerent, and like I said, they're never going to work out any kind of compromise with the United States.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. Yeah. I agree with that. So yeah, that's what you get when you get involved with that. That's what happens. We kind of just beating a dead horse now. We're kind of repeating what we said at the beginning there about this collapse. Just how much money you're just wasted on it. Because you don't, it's not an investment. You don't get any money back doing this. And nothing's good to come out because they're going to create even more resentment in the area. So yeah, this is just schizophrenic. That's the best word I can describe it. This whole war thing with Iran peace collapse is just the entire thing is just insane. Complete nonsense. But let's hear a little bit more, and I would like to kind of move on to the Trump coin scam.
So in attempting to kill the regime is never going to work with us, never going to trust us, and this is a regime that is a nuclear threshold state, and it's a regime that has a substantial military industrial complex with native drone and ballistic missile production capacity. We cannot tolerate the existence of a regime like this, so this makes it in such a way that the United States is going to come back and try again.
Yeah, he's mentioned that before.
So Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz to hurt us as badly as possible economically. They're demonstrating that if we try again, they always reserve the right to do what they're doing right now. And there's nothing we could do to stop it. Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz, shut down 20% of the world's energy. They're pushing the entire planet, including the United States, to the brink of an energy crisis, which will lead to a spiraling economic crisis. And they're doing this with drones and missiles that are impossible for us to suppress at a 100% rate. They're telling the whole world, this is what happens when you attempt regime change.
Yeah.
If you try it again, we're going to crash the economy all over again. So this is where we are. Now, in these negotiations, what we are attempting to do, of course, the United States is begging Iran to open up the strait. That's realistically more what is happening than an actual war. We are no longer realistically in a war with Iran, so much as we are in a protracted negotiation begging them to open up the Strait of Hormuz because we failed and lost in the war.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay, yeah. Just endless wars and aid. We're just going to keep doing this, especially the Israel and Ukraine proxies, right? So all you're doing, what are you doing with all this? With all this proxy wars and this war, you're just draining American resources. You're draining all resources. It's not just American. This is who you trade with too. What it does also, it just enriches the connected insiders, right? And what it ignores is, if there is a decay, it ignores the domestic decay. So all you're doing is you're just taking from over here and you're just putting it to over there now. So what you've been doing has to be sacrificed in order to pay for this war. And again, more flip-flops here. And it just what this flip-flopping here he's talking about just exemplifies just elite sabotage of the America First ideals. So you want to prioritize citizen welfare over global entanglements is rational self-interest. Right? Rational self-interest. State foreign policy often serves special interests, lobbies like MIC, rather than the voluntary national defense. That's basically my summation of this. And he did talk earlier. You talked about the immigration. Does he talk about that again?
Now we are begging Iran to open.
Let's see if it.
He said, because even though the price of oil is going lower, the price of fuel remains high.
Yeah, because
warehouses to detain illegals. I think we bought 6 or 9 warehouses and facilities to detain illegals. $80 billion was allocated by the big beautiful bill last year for immigration enforcement.
See, spending money. Now that's a contradiction because I think he wants to enforce the borders, right? Because when he talks about the immigration and the demographics he spoke earlier, like open borders plus the birthright citizenship, what does that do? That erodes the cultural cohesion. Say he has. I mean, what's the solution? You're going to spend more money to deport the illegals? Yeah, that costs money. If you're complaining about spending money like he's doing right here, then why do you want to spend money over there? Like I said, like you're just taking money from one place, like a shell game, you just move it over to some other place. So something has to sacrifice when you do that. There's always a sacrifice. And the sacrifice here, when it comes to immigration, would be the cultural cohesion. And of course, the welfare incentives completely distort economics. And they talk about low trust diversity undermines voluntary cooperation. Yeah, because that's what you're after anyway, volunteer cooperation. But anyway, like in a welfare state, what does that create? It creates a negative externalities. Crime, fiscal burden. And it just violate property rights via the taxation. So to kind of make my point against his is that unrestricted entry without assimilation, and that's what we've been talking about, it's simulating, can fracture homogeneous high trust. But the thing is, the high trust has a positive. Okay, sure, you can trust each other. Like for example, when I went, my wife's car was damaged and she took it to the car dealer to have it fixed. And we needed a rent-a-car in the meantime to use while our car is being fixed. So I went down to the car place and I told him, I'm here to pick up my car that I can use while you're fixing my wife's car. And so the boss wasn't there. And so I asked to the underling, I'm here to pick up my car. And he goes, who are you? And when did you call and when this happened? I told him I called last night and I'm the husband and I'm here to pick up my wife's car. And he goes, what color? Is blue. Okay. And then he asked, is the key in the car, in your wife's car? I said, yes. And so he gave me the key to the rent-a-car. He just gave me the key to the rent-a-car. I didn't have to sign anything. Didn't have to show any ID. I didn't have to show my driver's license. I got a car and I drove home in this car. That's high trust. And the fact that I was a foreigner talking to a local Japanese and he trusted me, that's high trust. But also the high trust, that can work to your advantage. He trusted me enough to borrow this car without showing ID and then driving home in that car while my wife's car is getting fixed. And then I return it after my wife's car has been fixed. Okay, that's okay. But the other negative of high trust society, and it's kind of a big negative, is that you can take advantage of that trust. That's why we get a lot of kidnappings in Japan. You know, some of those stories where they kidnap some girl for like 10 years. Yeah, that's what happens, is that they trust people too much and they can be taken advantage of, whether a used car salesman or maybe a Pakistan Muslim or something, or in any case, even a local Japanese will take advantage of the high trust. Because they figure, well, this old guy's Japanese. I kind of know him, I guess. He's Japanese, speaks a common language. I guess he's okay. What could he do to me? Well, he kidnap you. So that's not necessarily a positive. It could be more negative, too, because people take advantage of it. Okay, I ranted enough about that. Let's see. Now let's get to the coin part. I want to talk a little bit about that. Now again, this stream probably starts at 2 minutes. Okay. And what's the segment he's got here? 15 core rant on billions. UAE rug pull fans or exit liquidity. Okay, so that's 15 minutes. That should be easy to find. That goes 2:15. Let's watch a little bit of that. Right there. Okay. Let's start. Here we go.
Data having to do with surveillance, and that's going to make Palantir one of the most valuable companies in the world. It will enrich Peter Thiel. It will enrich Alex Karp. It will enrich Joe Lonsdale, who's a co-founder of Palantir also. Part of PayPal Mafia with that whole gang. And Tucker is a part of that. How can you not see that? And it's not innocent.
That's what he's talking about, these lobby games and the MIC grift. Yeah. More lobby games.
Every time he's asked, what is Palantir? He goes, I don't know. Yeah, you do. Peter Thiel is his best friend. Of course, you know all about Thiel. You know all about Palantir. You know all about Vance. And you lie. You lie through your teeth because you are a part of some clique. I don't know what it is precisely, but he's always in the Middle East, in Qatar and Saudi Arabia. He has some weird relationship with Russia and Serbia, and all of his friends are in the CIA. And then he wants to do yet another show saying that I'm suspicious because I didn't get charged. Yeah, you're right, fag. I didn't get charged. They only froze my bank account for half a year. They only put me on a do not board, no fly list for an entire year. They only subpoenaed me, all my documents, text messages, phone calls, and deposed me in the J6 subcommittee. They only banned me from Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. They only banned me from PayPal and Stripe, banned me from Bank of America, Chase Bank, US Bank, Fifth Third Bank, Inland Bank. They only banned me from Delta and American Airlines. Other than that, you're right, nothing happened to me. Yeah, I'm I'm totally suspicious. They never charged me. They only did all those things. Yeah, because I don't know. I guess the CIA recruited me when I was 17 in high school to go against Ben Shapiro. And you are totally clean. Your dad told you you didn't get into the CIA, which you applied to 35 years ago. But yeah, I'm the one that's suspicious. Okay, let's go with that. You want to keep barking up that tree? You want to keep the feud going? Yeah, you'll win that argument. Let's see, the 27-year-old live streamer who's banned from everything, or the 60-year-old douchebag whose entire social circle...
Almost sounds like a cope here. Yeah, the whole scam thing is its defense is bag holding while insiders exit. So that's just pure rentier behavior. Yeah, he's kind of just basically, well, yeah, okay. That's what he's, okay, so he's just exposing here the real tensions in the demographics and the trust that polite conservatives dodge. Okay, anyway.
Family is in the CIA who worked for Rupert Murdoch his entire life, is probably worth $50 million, is friends with multiple foreign governments and travels there all the time. Yeah, that's a winning argument. That's a winning hand. Keep barking up that tree. Surely people will be convinced. You know what? And I just have to expose these people all over again. We're working on a project to expose all of these people because it's so transparent. The problem is people just don't know. People just buy that aw shucks shtick, which I hate. That's all that is. Did you see? He did an interview this week where he said that after he got fired from Fox News, him and his wife were in bed talking about it, and the wife said, well, we'll just move to Vermont where it's cheaper. Are you kidding? You made $20 million a year at Fox News. You have multiple trust funds. What the fuck are you talking about? I swear, did you see this interview? He goes on the interview, he goes, yeah, when I lost my job at Fox, I turned to my wife and I said, what are we going to do? And she said, we'll downsize. We'll move to Vermont where it's cheaper.
He's just ripping on Tucker here, yeah.
Like he got laid off from the post office. Like he got laid off from the men's clothing department at Macy's. You made $20 million a year. You have multiple trust funds. What happened to the Swanson family fortune? We're going to we're going to downsize? He says this stuff all the time.
You know, this is the thing he's talking about, that even these, quote, based figures, like he's talking about Tucker, they compromise on their core principles. That's basically what he's saying. He's just basically for power, money, like meme coins or Epstein files, Israel. Yeah, these are supposed to be politicians that are rational actors in a Democratic cartel. And this is like what he's talking about, loyalty test. So this loyalty test reveals the state as the gang, not a savior. So this guy should just go full Ancap because he really has gone after the state in these two topics here. So once again, he's going after these, quote, base figures who compromise on their core principles. That's what he's ranting about. And they're doing it for meme coins. So that then overall, all the politicians are just working within this Democratic cartel, this gang. And that's all it's revealing. This loyalty test, commitment tests are just revealing to, that the state is nothing but a criminal organization, a gang, not a savior. Again, another failure of the state. It failed at the war. It's failing with this topic. And we'll see what's going to fail with the birthright citizenship. That's a little different. That one I'm going to have some issues with, but let's see what else he's ranting about here. But he's pretty much right about these base figures. being able to compromise and not standing up for their principles.
When he was talking about the demon attack, he goes, it happened on the first floor. My house only has one floor. Yeah, one of your multi-million-dollar houses only has one story. One out of your multiple houses in your 8-figure real estate portfolio only has one floor. So relatable, bro. What are we going to do? We only have $50 million in our checking account. We only have $100 million in our family trust. Should we sell one of our $5 million houses? How are we going to make ends meet? I mean, it's so... They brought up where the interview was taking place in his studio in Maine. He goes, this is my family barn. Your family barn? It's a movie set, idiot. Oh my, I don't know how anybody falls for that. It just goes to show how stupid your average conservative is that they buy that for even a second. It just goes to show how gullible and how foolish your average conservative is that they buy in.
Hey, we should read that chapter in Mein Kampf where Hitler goes after the conservatives. He calls them weak and cowardly. That just reminds me of this every time they go after them. But I mean, he's still got a point, though. People just compromise on their principles, and they just look at where polling numbers are, or where populator numbers are, and just go with that. And who cares if it destroys your own principles? As long as you come out on the winning edge. As long as you look good. Okay, how much more? You see what I got to suffer here? Watch all these. First of all, he doesn't start the stream until like 2 hours in. And then I gotta listen to this. We'll get into my personal tie-in after we get into the Birthright Citizenship. We kind of covered that a little bit already, but let's just keep going.
It's incredible. He's literally Mr. CIA. He's literally Mr. Bureau. And he goes around like,
That's kind of ironic, because they think Nick Fuentes is Mr. CIA and Mr. Bureau. Especially that footage of him at the January 6th protest that turned riot.
Like to hunt fish. I just like my dogs and having sex with my wife. Yeah, and the agency. It's crazy. Anyway, so I see that and I'm like, do people see that this is happening? This is just like a crime against humanity that this liar is able to get away with it. You are the single biggest liar.
Crime against humanity. Now, isn't it the war in Israel? Shouldn't he be calling that a crime against humanity? Diverting all our resources, all of our money to that war? That's, according to him, it's not going to work.
I wonder what happened there on January 6th. I don't know, bro. Why don't you ask your friends at the Bureau? He goes,
that's what they're wondering about you, Nick Wood is asking. They're wondering about you. Hey, you were there inciting people to do stuff, right? Isn't that what the clip shows?
I wonder what that's all about. You don't have to wonder.
That'd be funny if he mentioned that, if he said that as like a self-roast, self-deprecation. Is that, oh, well, I know people think that about me or something. He doesn't do it.
Ask all your friends in the intelligence community. Isn't that your favorite thing to say? And I happen to know that because I have friends in the CIA, DIA, FBI. Ask them yourself. Next time you're in Langley with your dad, ask him in person.
Let's skip the 230.
$1 million, one, from scamming his voters, directly scamming them, selling them something that is worthless.
After all this ranting about the state and politicians and what they do and compromise their principles, you still want to depend on the state to do stuff? You can't fix this state. It's not reformable. You can't do it. I know people think they are. That when you talk about insane, you don't talk about insanity. They think I'm going to vote for a politician that's finally going to fix it because I voted so hard in this election. This is insane. Why do you still want to depend on the state? Why don't you just exit? Bring up agorism or something where you can exit from this, so you keep going on this insanity of let's try this again. If I just vote hard enough, And this time, the same policy that I've been voting for the last 20 years, it's going to work this time. It's finally going to solve all their problems or solve some problem. And that's why I don't get that. I mean, it's just like, this is why I became an anarcho-capitalist. It's like hearing this contradiction, hearing this conflict. It's like, well, why you keep voting? Why you keep voting? You can't reform this. It's beyond repair. And if you were to try to repair it, maybe, good luck with that. They'll just extort your money. They buy another summer house. And or do this with the Bitcoin, the meme coin thing. And is this what you want to do? You want to keep on? You want to stay on this ride of insanity? You don't want to just finally just get off and exit and create something alternative? Go out and create something. This is the point of my videos, why I do these, and I do so many. I would like people to go out and create something, whether it's a piece of music, whether it's a piece of art, or maybe it's like what Elon Musk does with neural implants. Something. Create something that's outside the state. But people don't want to do that. They don't want to do the work. They expect someone else to do the work. And they have confidence. They still have confidence, and they still trust that the state, which is made up of people that went through the same education that you did, they still trust that they're going to fix it. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane. And this is why I don't know how people just can't see this.
Selling them something that is worthless and also profiting off of the transaction fees.
That sounds like the state. What he just described there sounds exactly like the state. Promising you one thing, and it's just feeding the state, or just feeding the pocketbooks of a politician. The money just disappears. They can't trace it anywhere.
From selling them something that is worthless. And then the other.
Selling something that's worthless, yeah, like the state, or another policy that might fix the state, or something that'll fix it this time. Speaking of worthless, and you want to depend on the state to solve your immigration problem and enforce the border. Good luck with that. You see where the money's going.
Other $700, $800 million comes from World Liberty, a firm owned by the children of his top negotiator that does business with Pakistan and the UAE, which he makes royalties off of, and he makes profits from the sale of equity to foreign countries.
Yeah, that sounds like the political game, doesn't it? Sounds just like the state. Anyway, let's move on. I want to get to the.
And hey, it's about the Chicago police chasing criminals. Okay, well, who are the criminals in Chicago? They're all black. And yet, every episode of the show, all the villains are white people. All the criminals are white people.
Yeah, we know about this inversion. We know about this inversion. Yeah, we all know about that. We've heard enough of it. If you watch that guy Rupert on Joe Rogan's show about the Pakistan Muslim rape gangs, he's talking about this inversion. And the crime statistics, I can't even say it, FBI crime stats. So it's a complete inversion. And recently on Twitter, I think someone had some information about that, and it showed the complete inversion, that you're lied to by the state corporate fascist media. Okay, let's see. All right, let's keep going. I know he's going to talk about re-immigration.
That's every movie now. Every movie.
Oh, it's talking about movie.
Horror movies. The supernatural entity is racism in Jim Crow. In action movies.
Yeah, those people that really push the Jim Crow narrative, these boomers, man, they live in the past. They absolutely live in the past. They still think it's 1960. And they're on the cusp of a new era of civil rights laws. They actually believe that. They actually believe they're still living in 1960. They're living in the past. Yet they have the nerve to tell you, who are either a Trump supporter or not, they're going to tell you you're a far-right extremist and you're the one living in the past. You couldn't be more wrong. So yeah, that's what these people actually think. It's still Rosa Parks era. And these are voters.
Movies. The enemy is some white guy. In
They've been doing that for a long time, though. I remember in like, it was around the late 80s, early 90s movies, they started changing the villain to make him like a European white guy that spoke with like a British accent or something. They started really doing that in the 90s. It was really cringe. See, and growing up in the 80s, when I was growing up in the 80s, when we watched action movies, it doesn't matter what it was, we knew they were stupid. We knew they were just dumb. Commando, any Rambo movie, any of those action movies like that, we knew they were dumb. We go watch the movies just to have a good laugh at it and listen to these over-the-top dialogue and lines. But the enemies would like either like the Soviet Union. You never saw any like Chinese like communist enemies. You never saw that. But then in like after the Soviet Union collapsed, you suddenly saw the change in the villains. They started changing to more European, white European. The Lethal Weapon, they did that with that guy from South Africa. Anyway, this has happened. This has been happening for a long time, maybe since the 60s. I'm trying to just remember all the movies I've seen over the years. Yeah, it's definitely, it really changed.
Empire. Those are always, every movie genre, whites are the bad guys. In the rom-coms, the whites are the toxic boyfriend. In the horror movies, the supernatural entity is racism. In the sci-fi movies, it's a spacefaring white supremacist civilization that hates aliens.
That's modern movies. Yeah, I don't watch modern movies. Okay, so this is just a rant about the narrative and the subject material in movies. Well, yeah, we all know that's crap's been going on for a long time. It's not new. Not even really worthy to talk about anymore. So I want to move on. I want to finish up here. Birthright Citizenship held around the 10 or 45, around there. Jump judges. Okay. Now, if I know Nick Fuentes, I know his stream doesn't start until 2:38 this time. So we got to get into the 10-minute mark. So about 2:48. Let's see if it holds true. Hey, I'm not Kino Casino. I don't have my things queued up. They got little, I like the way they set up things. They got little folders for each topic, and they just go in little folders. They got all the images and the videos in the folder, and just go in there and click on those in succession. That's pretty good. I like that. But they're doing like 10-hour streams.
If you're Asian, let me tell you the easiest way to make money by doing very little work. Pretend to be a conservative on the internet. And Republicans and movement conservatives, they will literally line up around the block to offer you a job to do nothing other than be a minority in the GOP. It's the easiest thing in the world. And so such is the case here. They found this 19-year-old ugly black kid. I think it's literally the ugliest black kid they could possibly find. I don't know if it's possible to find an uglier black kid. I guess those like black retards on TikTok that do the anime voices, I guess they all aren't.
This is fair use, by the way. I'm just commenting on these videos, so YouTube, let you know I'm invoking the fair use clause. I'm not responsible for what he's saying here in the video. I'm just reacting to it. I'm reacting to certain points. All right, let's go on.
Conservative enough, or maybe they got another gig or something. Maybe they weren't interested. So they literally went out and found the ugliest black kid they could possibly find. And he's doing and the only one that doesn't hate Israel also. They found the only American under the age of 42 that doesn't absolutely hate Israel and Jews. And they said, hey, would you like a job at Daily Wire? As they brought him on, and I think they brought him on like 2 weeks ago. Like 2 weeks ago, they did a trailer for his brand new show, Pat Nuclear, the 19-year-old Niglet sensation. Head is shaped like an acorn. He's got an afro. And
let me check my stream on YouTube before we finish. Okay, I think it's still all right. Hey, it's fair use. Anyway.
Get ready for this. This is going to get us to a $2 billion valuation, they said. Well, I understand the kids don't like Ben Shapiro and his yarmulke anymore, and nobody's biting on Andrew Klavan and Michael Knowles. Well, get ready for the ugliest niglet you've ever seen, 19-year-old Matt Nuclear, to defend capitalism in the state of Israel.
Okay. Where does it go on about the birthright citizenship? I think he already mentioned that earlier before. Let me check the new base. That German movie. Matt Nuclear DEI main story birthright citizenship. Oh, it's right there. I was off by 10 minutes. Sorry. There it is.
The Supreme Court decision on birthright citizenship. You might remember that in January 2025, the day that Trump was inaugurated, he signed an executive order overturning birthright citizenship. And as you know, the way it works in this country is that anybody who is born on the soil of the United States of America automatically becomes a citizen, and they get all the rights enjoyed by anybody else that lives here. Whether their parents are citizens, no matter how many generations they've gone back, it doesn't even matter. Literally, if you are born on the land, you have full voting rights, you are entitled to Social Security and all the other benefits conferred upon you by citizenship. And this has given rise to a very toxic and bad incentive structure.
That's the one that's giving rise to a bad incentive structure. Let me know in the chat if you agree with that or not. Let me in the comment section, because I thought it was the welfare state that was incentivizing this kind of behavior. I didn't think it was the birthright thing. Maybe it was that too.
Particularly birth tourism and illegal immigration. If you are a foreign national, whether you're wealthy or whether you're poor, because of this perverse incentive structure that's been set up, it would behoove anybody, no matter what country you come from, again, whether rich or poor, to come here when you're pregnant so that your children will be born on the land and they'll enjoy all the benefits of U.S. citizenship. And so it's become very common for Russian oligarchs and Chinese elites, rich people, to travel to the United States when they're pregnant to have their children here. Because as rich as they are, they still covet U.S. citizenship. Why? Because then it allows their children to visit the United States whenever they want, reside in the United States whenever they want.
Well, I thought to a dual citizenship, you had to choose one. So my daughter, I think, what did she choose? Because she was born in the United States, but we moved to Japan, but yet she was considered a Japanese national because my wife is Japanese, and so she had dual citizenship. So at a certain age, you have a choice. You can choose between Japanese or American citizenship. But I think, what am I doing? Because I'm about to get my permanent residency card in a few months, and I'll be a permanent resident here. But at the same time, I'll be a American citizen. It's almost like dual citizenship. Now, it's convenient because I can move back and forth. I don't have to worry about that, and I don't have to renew my. How does that work anyway? The edu card. But yeah, you have a choice. You could make. You can say. You can just say, well, you have to choose. Okay, I'll just choose to be American citizen. I think it's once you get to be like an adult. I think it's 18. I think. All right, let's keep going.
To gain access to American universities and other amenities that are afforded only to U.S. citizens.
But who's making that possible? It's the state that's doing that. So what's the solution going to be? He's going to say we're going to reform the state, change some laws?
Maybe even to influence our political system. If there's some sort of a spy or if they have political ambitions within their own countries. And then there's the poor people. There's the global south. You have illegal aliens. They'll travel from Africa, Asia, South and Central America over the border into the United States, and then they have their kids here, and then they get the welfare. Then their children are protected from deportation.
There it is, the key word there, welfare.
Typically, the parents are as well. They will have privileged access to American public schools, to the American healthcare system, and they'll be set up to live in America for the rest of their lives. It's a horrible system. And this system comes to us by way of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which says that anybody born on the land is a citizen. It is a constitutional issue. But the history of this amendment is very important to understand. It's not as though the states and the Congress and the representatives of this country got together and said, wouldn't it be a great idea?
See, that's what he's going to do is, as an Ancap here, I just believe the state is the root of all the problems. Whether it's a monopoly on violence or taxation is theft, regulation distorting markets. And Fuentes here correctly sniffs interventionism, and he's correctly calling out the welfare incentives. But he pivots to an ethno-statism or strongman politics instead of abolition. That's what I've been saying this whole stream. So that's what he's going to pivot to, which doesn't make any sense at all. It's completely contradictory. Why you want to depend on the very thing that's been causing these problems? But things like private property or voluntary association, polycentric law, or private defense agencies, arbitration, they solve these contradictions. And you don't really have to have like a white Christian monopoly enforcer. See, when it comes to immigration here, what he's talking about, the birthright citizenship, in a stateless society, communities and HOAs and property owners, they set the rules. So it's like open borders under welfare is bad, right? Open borders under welfare is bad. But free movement plus full cost internalization, no public goods is fine. See, that's a solution. So what do you think about it? Let me know if you agree with that take, because that's my take on it.
The idea if anybody that was born on the land could become a citizen? The 14th Amendment comes by way of the Civil War. It was part of a series of 3 amendments to the Constitution, which were ratified in the immediate aftermath of the Civil War, which were meant to address the particular circumstances of the freed slaves after the conclusion of the Civil War. The 13th Amendment ended slavery. The 14th Amendment, which is where birthright citizenship is enshrined.
See, like I said, if we stayed under the crown, under the monarchy, up until 1833, we would have abolished slavery in 1833 without all this mess, without the Civil War and in this 14th Amendment. That would have avoided it. So there's one benefit for staying with the crown just a little bit longer. But they didn't know that. But had they stayed, it would have been abolished peacefully because they would have just paid the slave owners off. That's what the British did. So it would have just saved thousands of lives. It would have saved this terrible thing that happened. It would have just created all kinds of problems. What he's talking about here is all the problems that's created because of it.
Was ratified so that the people that were freed from slavery would be grandfathered in as citizens.
Yeah, because something James Madison talked about in his writings, that how are we going to deal with the slaves? You know, what are we going to do with them? You know, can we grant them some like land, like the Indians, some reservation in America, or do we export them to like an island where they can govern themselves, or they can just export them back to the coast of Africa? But the problem was it cost money to do all that. So he calculated the cost. It would have been like $30 million back then. That was a hell of a lot of money to do that. But this is the problem they had. They were trying to figure out how are you going to solve this? Well, if it was solved under the crown, they would have just paid the slave owners off, and that would have been it. I don't know if they would have done a 14th Amendment in that case. If they just paid off the slave owners like they did in Britain to end slavery, how would they deal with the slaves then? They're free now, so what do? Are they going to be granted birthright citizenship, or is it going to be the same thing anyway? At 14 members, is it inevitable that it would happen? Let me know in the chat in the discussion below. I'd like to know your answers.
And it said all these people that were in legal limbo, people that were slaves, now are freed. Question is, what are they legally to the government? 14th Amendment says, well...
Yeah, to the government. That's the thing, to the government. Well, the government wants a piece of that pie, so it decided to get a monopoly on that, so it passed that 14th Amendment.
It doesn't matter if they were born as slaves and are now free.
Oop, spit came out. Whoa, buddy.
Because as long as they were born on the land, they are now citizens. And so this was a sloppy way.
But how many were really born on the land? Were all of them born on the land at that time? Or some of them were new arrivals? I know they kind of stopped. They put a stop to any new slaves at a certain point. But when they stopped doing it, were the slaves that were freed?
A sloppy way in the U.S. Constitution to figure out what we're going to do, what is to be done about all these people. It is part of a series of 3 amendments, 13, 14, and 15. What do we do with all the freed slaves after the Civil War? And it said, well, as far as their legal status is concerned, we will consider that if they were born on the land, it doesn't matter if they were slaves at that time or free men, they're now going to be citizens. That was the point of that provision of the 14th Amendment. And of course, since then, the situation has changed. Since then, in the mid and late 19th century, you've had huge waves of immigration, and then there's the Ellis Islanders, and then there's Hart-Celler and the 1990 Immigration Act. We've opened the floodgates to massive amounts of foreign nationals coming here.
We know why. We know why that happened after World War II.
For various reasons. And this has incentivized people to come here illegally or for other reasons, and they're taking it.
That's incentivized, or is it the welfare state, the welfare magnet, the welfare incentives? But he's gonna pivot here to ethno-nationalism or strongman politics instead of just pure state evolution.
Advantage of this provision. So when Trump was elected, it was one of his promises that he would overturn birthright citizenship.
Okay, said it didn't happen. I'm gonna skip to 10 minutes.
Roberts and Barrett, and then Kavanaugh in a separate procedural decision, but it was those two plus Kavanaugh in 2 separate decisions that shut it down and said birthright citizenship is upheld. There is no challenge to birthright citizenship. It stays. And this is a story from the New York Times. We'll work through it and talk a little bit about the specifics. It says, quote, the Supreme...
Okay. So I think that's about it. Let me wrap it up now, because I don't want to listen to him read. I don't want to suffer anymore. I've suffered enough. I don't want to listen to him read an article from New York Times. You can just go read that yourself and see what you think about that. But again, the state is the root of the problem, but he wants to depend on a strongman state to solve the problems. It doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So anyway, to wrap it up here, so, as a radical objectivist, agorist type here, this stuff definitely does test me. Nick has definitely got the anti-state instincts sometimes. Right here, in this case, not this particular case, but the other ones. And he's building on the cozy.tv against bans. Okay, so that's sort of the counter econ, right? That's like agorism. So voluntary audiences paying for his value. And you got to respect the grind, though. He's grinding it out almost every day with these streams doing this. And it's impressive. But, me here, little old me sitting here Friday night in Japan, probably should be maybe coding a privacy tool or homesteading instead of reacting. I'm just the guy just quoting Rand while watching Catholic integralist streams. Well, I guess that makes me a hypocrite then, I guess. Maybe. But the principles, though, over tribe. Okay, the principles over tribe. Fuentes does channel the real resentment from the young men screwed over by the state. Screwed over by feminism, debt, cultural eraser. Yeah, I get that. I'd be pissed too. Be angry at that. Be angry at the state for doing that. Yeah, I'm all there. I'm with that. But the difference is, I say exit this and build anew, create something new. You know, not try to capture the state machine. Okay, don't try to do that, because that's what he's going to be doing, and it doesn't really make any sense. Yeah. So the core lesson here, wrap it up here, is that yes, that's right. The state corrupts everything: foreign policy into forever wars, cultural into inversion, economics into grift. Fuentes does steelman the failures brilliantly, right? He's spot on about that, but he prescribes the wrong fix. More centralized power, or just our guy kind of thing, right? But the Ancap fix is to dismantle the monopolies, the government state. And the Agorist solution is counter economies. We want to create the parallel platforms. See, we want to create something. He wants to work within the system and reform it. But we want to create parallel platforms, things like private law, reputation economics, and voluntary communities. And me being objectivist, reason, not blood or faith. Judgment as individuals. So, preempting sort of like the racist cry, they call them racist. Ignoring group patterns in crime, trust is suicidal under statism. Again, ignoring group patterns in crime and trust is suicidal under statism. Fix is in the state, right? So associations are free. So overall, Nick Fuentes, his streams prove market demand for unfiltered truth. So use it, guys. Use it to build it. Not beg from the rulers. So is Groyper's an institution? Well, temporarily. And Agorist Exodus starves permanently. That's what you want. So anyway, drop it in the chat here. What is your take on Fuentes this week or the last 2 weeks? Is there an Agorist win? Does it pull off anything? Does it offer any better counter-economic hustle? So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe as usual. Share with a normie. Hey, they might be into this kind of stuff. And don't forget to support parallel creators. Super chat here or build your own. So next week as usual, there'll be more solutions. Maybe some more reaction videos. We'll see. So let's make the state irrelevant. All right. So have a good weekend, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night for my self-roast and some game. Until then, peace out.